Thank you. Thank you, Nasir Ali, for your kind words and welcoming me for this program that is being conducted as a faculty development program on technology, integration, and interaction. And we are talking about technology integration and also its interaction throughout these days, I think. And this is session 8. And I know this is of utmost importance now. Why? Because we are in a pandemic situation and we thought that situation will change and we will come to a normal situation. Every moment we are expecting great changes, but nothing has happened since March 2020. So the teaching learning process, everything went online, and most of us were rushing for attending a number of online sessions. How to conduct classes online? That was a major problem, isn't it? As teachers and as students, how to appear in an online class, whether it will be beneficial for us or whether it will be the same thing as an offline situation. That was all our doubts and all our concerns. But we know we are now accustomed to the online teaching learning process. And also we know to avoid the zero academic year, we are all teachers and students are rushing behind our online courses. And now we are coming up with different tools. We know about different tools, how to conduct it online perfectly. And also we know how to mark our attendance, how to remain silent in our online classes. And when you are asked to answer a question, how to unmute your mics, how to put on your video cameras and all. And everything is fine going on. But we know as far as teaching learning process is concerned, we always are of the hope that the teacher is in front of us and the teacher sees the behavior of each and every student in the classroom and works accordingly, manages the class accordingly. And that was what was done in the previous years from the day we started our education till last year. But now all things have changed. We know there is no other way. Even though we are locked up at home, we are gathering a lot of information, isn't it? We are trying to present papers, or we are trying to take classes, or we are trying to attend a lot of seminars, webinars, workshops, conferences, etc., and acquire a lot of knowledge, because both teacher and student should be a lifelong learner. Only then we can professionally develop, as well as we can become effective and suitable and relevant members of the society, and we can count and our nation can count on us, and the progress of our country depends upon the development and also the contribution of each and every citizen of the country. So we as useful citizens and members of our country, we should be always striving hard for its progress. And as teachers and students only we can do it, because we are the largest community in our country. So with these words, let me give you an overview of the teaching aids. Even though it is a technology integration and interaction FDP, we should know about the history of teaching aids. That is, from the past till the present, till where we are, we should know. And for that, I'm trying to make your minds go through the history of the teaching aids, which we were as teachers. I know this is a heterogeneous group, not only teacher educators, but also there are members from other faculty, from engineering, arts, medical science and all. And even though as teachers and research scholars and postgraduate students, we have come across a number of teaching aids in our lives. And some of our teachers might have used some of the teaching aids during our teaching learning process. But we were not aware what is it, isn't it? We were just looking at the teaching aid and what knowledge imparted from those teaching aid. But now we should know what is the component of each teaching aid, and what are the different types of teaching aid and how it is categorized. And also when it comes to the latest teaching aid, which we use in an online platform. So I'm going to go through that history, or give an overview idea or an idea about the teaching aids in this session. Hope the teacher educators who are present here will be familiar with some of the terms, but majority of you who are not teacher educators, I think something you will get from this session, and hope I am audible and visible to you. Can anybody say now? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen and you should say whether it is visible. Can you see?
Noted, ma'am. Now it's visible, ma'am.
Hope it's visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So we can start. Now, as the name indicates, teaching aids. For what are we using these teaching aids? For what purpose? We know there are a number of purposes for the use of teaching aids, because we always speak about the effectiveness of teaching learning experiences when we are in a classroom situation. And we know we have got 5 senses. And these senses are considered as the gateways of knowledge. And if all the 5 senses become active, what will happen? That much knowledge, that through all these 5 senses, knowledge will enter, and that much knowledge will be acquired. And also we can say that the effectiveness of, or we can see the depth of knowledge which is acquired by a student or by a person is very much needed in a classroom situation. And that is why we require teaching aids. But we use these words now as a learning supporting system, or we can say learning aids are the other terms which we use for teaching aids. Now we always say that we remember, this is a normal quote we always come across, that is, we remember 20% of what we hear, we remember 30% of what we see, we remember 50% of what we see and hear, because 2 senses are becoming active, and we remember 90% of what we say and do. So what is, in a nutshell, we can say, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. So from these words, we can understand that learning by doing, and from learning by doing, we are learning by living. These two are the main aims of the teaching learning process. So we should provide situations for the students to do something in the classroom. And we know all subjects have got possibilities and opportunities for the students to do. But what is happening is the teachers are reluctant to show these teaching aids. Why? Because it needs a lot of effort, lot of creativity from the part of the teacher. And if this class comprises of some 40 or 50 students, you should provide adequate facilities for them, isn't it? That requires a lot of effort from the part of the teacher, and which the teacher finds that the teacher dominated method or the teacher centered method, such as, for example, the lecture method or the lecture demonstration method or the historical method, becomes a very what is called comfortable for them. Why? Because you can teach a lot of content within a small period of time, and you can teach a large number of pupils, large number of audience with a single method, that is purely the teacher-centered method. So here comes the what is called the inavailability. Even though teaching aids or learning aids are available in your surroundings, that is not being utilized in the classroom. And that is the pitiable situation in our classrooms today. But as the maxim says, when you do, only you understand. All other things are rote memorization. What is rote memorization? That is learning without understanding. So if you are giving provisions in the classroom for the students to do something where there is hands-on experience on for the students to do, and that will bring lot of changes in the effectiveness of knowledge which they enter into their mind. That is, all the five senses become active. Now here I'm showing how to put in, that is simply to put in. Teaching aids are those aids or the materials which we use for teaching, that we know. And now we are switching over. That is when the product aspect was changed to the process aspect. That is more giving importance to the activity-based method in the classrooms. We use the term learning aids. So what become a learning aid? Learning is defined as a material which is used by the learners for learning. Okay, so the role of the teacher has changed now. We always speak about teachers, but now the teacher has changed to, the role has changed to different terminologies such as facilitators, mentors, social engineers, knowledge workers, etc., etc. And also, we take the term facilitator. What does the term facilitator means? A person who provides all facilities in the classroom for the students to learn. So what are the facilities? Those are the learning aids that you can provide. It may be improvised aid, it may be a sophisticated aid, or it may be an aid which is available in your classroom. Provide it to each and every individual. If you cannot provide it to each and every individual, at least divide the class into very small groups and ask the students to work on it. And when they learn by doing, what will happen? There will be a drastic change in the knowledge which they acquire. And they will get a lot of information because all the five senses become active. So let this be the motto of all teachers who are present here from the next day onwards. And you know, in the online platform, there are limitations, but there are online teaching aids which can be used, which we will discuss in our further session. Okay, so we can just give a definition because our topic is an overview of teaching aids. So you should know what is a teaching aid is. Teaching aids, you know, as the tools used by the teachers in the classrooms. It may differ, and that will come in the following slides. That is the number of a variety of teaching aids that are provided. So it is a tool for the teachers to help the learners to acquire certain skills. That is such as to get an idea about a fact or a concept which is being presented in the classroom, and to relieve the anxiety and the fears. You know, certain teachers, they do not have any voice modulation in the classroom. From the beginning of the first minute to the last minute, that is maybe a 1 hour session, the same voice goes on. And the students feel so boring, isn't it? We also might have felt the same thing in some of our teachers' classes. But if there is a teaching aid, what will happen? You are switching over your oral technique to the visual technique, okay? And what happens there? Your senses will change. Once you were passive listeners, you become observers. As a result, what happens is there will be a change in the learning style too. As a result, the classroom becomes very effective. And that is the use of teaching aids. And we can categorize the teaching aids mainly into three. That is the audio aids, the visual aids, and the audiovisual aids. So you know, you are combining the characteristics of both audio and the visual aids together to form what is called audiovisual aids. And from these three categories, at least, you can understand. When you compare the three categories, you can find out that the audiovisual aids are more effective than audio aids and visual aids. But there are certain situations where we can use only audio aids or we can use only visual aids. But something is better than nothing, isn't it? Just simply from talk and chalk method, you can make the whole process enlightened, active, lively, etc. by the use of any one aid which comes under these three categories, such as the audio aids, the visual aids, and the audio visual aids. And from audio visual aids, you can get an understanding that you are activating the sense of hearing and the sense of sight. So this is just a broad classification of the projected and the non-projected aids. Okay, and what is actually the difference between projected and non-projected aids that some of might have come across. That is, we have come across in the educational technology paper. That was a paper in the teacher education program. And we always think, and we also always say about projected and non-projected. That is just the simple differences. For a projected aid, you need an external equipment for projection. But for a non-projected aid, you do not require an external aid for projection. That is the simple difference between a projected aid and a non-projected aid. So if you're using a chart in the classroom, if you're using a graph, or if you're using a model in the classroom, it becomes a non-projected aid. Why? Because it does not require an external medium for projection. You're just bringing the original thing in the classroom and you're showing it. But what happens to a projected aid? It requires some other sophisticated materials, and it requires some facilities in the classroom. Either it requires a completely darkened room or a partially darkened room, and requires all other facilities such as electric connections and all. So that is the main difference. But depending upon the facilities in the classroom, the teachers use these type of aids in the teaching learning process. And we are coming across these different aids in the following slides. Now I am coming to the cone of experience. What is happening in cone of experience? You might have come across different geometric shapes in mathematics, but cone has got a peculiarity. What is the cone peculiarity of a cone? This is actually a triangle, but cone, the base of the cone is slightly curved, isn't it? What is the peculiarity of the cone? That is, the base of the cone occupies the maximum area. And the maximum area denotes the most effective learning experiences that you can provide in the classroom. So what is the most effective experience that you can provide? That is, the Bruner's cone is divided into three. That is enactive, iconic, and symbolic. Just I'm going to give a brief description of this. That is, then only we can compare it with the teaching aids that you can show in the classroom. What is happening in enactive? Enactive means learning by doing. So a student gets maximum effect, or we can say the maximum effectiveness in the classroom is done or acquired by a student only through learning by doing. That I have told you. We always speak about computer education. When computer education started years ago, I remember a professor who came to take a class for my orientation program. And what happened there was, it was in 1999, I think, I remember. And computer education was not popular at that time. And he spoke a lot about computer education for his 3 hours lecture. But what happened, we did not get any idea. But we were sent to a computer lab. And that same professor came there and he explained, this is the monitor, this is the mouse, this is the keypad. And he showed how to on the computer and how to work on it. Then only we got a small experience or small idea of what a computer is after his 3 years of theoretical lecture. So that is the difference. So learning by doing is very much needed in a classroom, whatever may be the subject. Learning by doing is very important. Then comes iconic. What is iconic? That is learning through images. We know we use certain images for certain actions or certain phenomena. And that is why it is settled at the second portion of the cone. We know as we go up the cone, the area decreases. And as the area decreases, what is happening? The effectiveness of the teaching learning process also, that is the effectiveness of the experiences gained by the student also decreases. That is why it is arranged like that. So what is happening in iconic is learning through images. So just learning through some what is called pictures, photographs, or illustrations will not suit the purpose. But there are certain situations where you cannot bring the original thing in the classroom and the students cannot be involved in learning by doing. So what you do is you will bring it in the form of a devised thing, or a contrived experience will be provided. And the last one is symbolic. That is called the pinnacle of the cone. What is pinnacle of the cone? It is the topmost portion of the cone where it is the least area is there. And what is happening in the least area? The least effectiveness of the experiences that a student gets. And that is the pitiable condition in each and every classroom where the teacher is not putting in any effort. So the students learn only through symbols. And what happens? Their effectiveness is decreased and the acquirement of knowledge is decreased. And what happened? They become poor learners. So that is what we are going on in if we stick on to the symbolic, providing symbolic experiences in the future. Now I am comparing it with the Edgar Dale's of Cone's classification of audiovisual aids. What is happening here? Again, here he divided the cone into 11 areas. And from this you can understand the base of the cone occupies the maximum area. So the most effective learning experience that a student can get, that is called the direct purposeful experience. I'm talking about a rose flower for 2 hours, but if you bring a rose flower in the classroom, what will happen? All the 5 senses can become active. The students can see, the students can smell, students can touch, is it? And students can hear, and even the students can taste. And all the 5 senses become active, and that much knowledge gets into their mind, and it becomes the experiences will be the most effective. And as you see how the other things are arranged as you go up the cone, the effectiveness or the area decreases and the effectiveness also decreases. So next is contrived experience, where if you cannot bring the original thing, you can at least contrive or at least devise. Then comes the dramatized experiences, where you provide certain situations in the classroom where the students take the role of an actor and the other audience are there and they exchange their roles. Then comes demonstrations shown by the teacher. Field trips, where the students are taken to the actual situation. But why field trip is included in the 5th position of Edgar Dale's cone of experience? Why? Why? Because even though they go to a place of scientific or historical importance, they are not actually involved in the action. They just go and they are only passive observers. That is why they are not learning anything by doing. That is why it is occupied in the 5th position. Then comes exhibits. You know about exhibits. Then motion pictures. Motion pictures are more effective than recordings, radio and still pictures. And then comes the visual symbols, and at last the verbal symbols. Verbal symbols occupied at the topmost, called the pinnacle of the cone, which is the least effective and the least area occupied by the cone. Can you say whether the slides are visible and my voice is visible, audible? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is about the fullest classification of audiovisual aids and how it is being classified in its order of importance. Okay, now before selecting an audiovisual aid or a visual aid or an audio aid or an online teaching aid, you should find out what is the principle. On what purpose do you select these teaching aids? That is, it should have some education value. Just for the sake of using a teaching aid, my mentor told me use a teaching aid in the classroom, that is why I'm using. No, that's not the purpose. What you should do is, you should know what is the relevance of using it in the classroom, whether it will have any benefit for the students, whether it will realize the objectives of the classroom. You know, as a teacher and as a student, even the students set certain objectives before learning. Even the teachers set certain objectives before teaching. Whether the objectives are being realized by the use of these teaching aids, whether it is pupil-centeredness, that is the utmost importance. Why you are using it, whether it is beneficial for the student. Because we know we are shifting from or we have already shifted from the traditional to the modern method where you give importance to the pupil. Everything is centered around pupil. First, you understand the needs and the aspirations of the pupil, and you frame all your teaching learning process for the benefit of the pupil. And for what that is to understand the needs of the student first, then satisfy or help them achieve those needs. So it should be centered around the pupil. So all what you do in the classrooms and all things which you do for the teaching learning process should be for the pupil, for their interest and motivation. You know, in a classroom, to reduce, to remove the boredom, you should bring about lot of variety of things, novelty of methods, strategies, techniques should be adopted in the classroom. And the sole aim is for creating interest and motivation. And for simplicity, no, don't bring huge things where the student does not understand. You are going to supplement your teaching learning process with the help of teaching aids. So that should be very simple for the students to understand. It should be relevant and suitable for the students. You know, a primary student or a high school student will have certain needs that will be different from a higher secondary school student or a professional student. So his needs are different because the chronological age is increasing. As a result, their needs and aspirations also will change. So it is for the students. Therefore, it should be suitable. It should be accurate, and it should be for the encouragement. That is, the students sometimes will be involved in an activity or they will learn by doing. As a result, you are encouraging the students. And before showing a teaching aid, the teacher should rehearse it in advance. That is very much needed. I often in my science classes, when my students go for teaching practice, I am giving you a simple example. One person, it was in early before 2000, he was going with a chart in the classroom. Okay. And he was so much nervous. What happened was he had his bottle of acid with him. And what happened is, due to his nervousness, this acid bottle spilled over the chart. He did not even recognize it. And once he turned to the from the blackboard to show the chart, he found that there was a big hole in the chart. And that was so much, he was so much nervous, and he thought he is going down into a hole to the earth, because I was there to mentor him and to award him some marks and all. And at last he came with a lot of apologies and all. And so what is happening in well preparedness is rehearse certain things. If you have a chart with you, keep it somewhere safe. Okay, do not mingle it with other things. And also, if you have some other teaching aids, you see that it is done in a proper manner before, or it will work in a proper condition before. That is, before the class, you have to rehearse it. And once you bring it in the class, you should not waste time on working on the teaching aids or any models or like that. It should be automatically shown, because you should not waste any time over it. And also avoiding too many aids, because if you feel that your class will be effective only if you bring a number of teaching aids in the classroom, no. If you bring at least one or two, that should be the most relevant and adequate for the topic which you are going to discuss in the classroom. And it should be a means to an end. You know, there is a process which is a way or a means to the product. So we cannot have a product without a process. You cannot have an end without a means. So let the teaching aids be a means to your end. What is your end? The realization of the objectives, the realization of the teaching learning process that is undertaking. Then integration. What is integration? You are integrating what you're teaching, that is the theoretical part, and you're integrating it with your practical. When the students learn by doing, what will happen? When they do something, what is happening is they will remember all the theoretical principles which were taught in the class, and they will integrate the theory with the practical. And also you should see the size of the classroom, whether it can be suitable to bring a huge teaching aid in the classroom. Then what about finance? That is, if the sophisticated materials cost a lot, if the teacher cannot bring that in the classroom because it has a lot of financial burden on him, he can again think of it. What type of teaching aid can I bring? And all the facilities, and also the experience. You know, well-experienced teacher, we always say that their words are more than any teaching aid, is there? Because out of the experience, they have got a number of things which they can share with the students. But we know, even if it is a well-experienced, he is a person who is well-experienced, can bring a variety of teaching aids, innovative teaching aids in the classroom. And before you use a teaching aid in the classroom, you should prepare it well. And also, what happens in our classrooms is, when the teacher brings the equipment in the classroom or a teaching aid in the classroom, he will use it for his own purpose. And it becomes a demonstration method. What happens? Demonstration is purely a teacher-centered method, where the students are not at all involved, where the students are not at all participating. That should not be there. There should be a minimum level of participation from the part of the students. So the teacher should prepare it in advance like that. And also it should be handled properly. That is, it should be checked whether it is working, as I have already told you. And timely presentation. There are certain teachers, I know, they bring the teaching aids, keep it at one side for its safety, and they go on with the class. And at the end of the class only, they will remember, oh, I have brought this teaching aid. I wanted it to show in between my lesson, but I forgot. There is no use of using the teaching aid at any other time. So timely presentation is very important, and avoiding distraction. We always say that. Always the teachers have an excuse. That is, if I bring a teaching aid in the classroom, there will be utter distraction in the classroom. Why? Because the students are so much motivated and interested to see the teaching aid that they become automatically distracted. And teachers find it as an excuse. That is why I'm not bringing the teaching aid in the classroom. That is not an excuse. Even though there is distraction, it is the duty of the teacher to maintain discipline in the classroom. Then, the teaching aid to protect and preserve, and that it should be put into action. There should be follow-up. What is follow-up? That is, you should bring about a discussion session, whether the teaching aid was relevant in this situation. But did you get any idea from this teaching aid, or more idea from this teaching aid during my session? So that comes under follow-up and evaluation. And the teacher can reflect on his works. That is, whether the teaching aid which he used was proper, and whether it was of use to the students, whether any modifications regarding the use of teaching aid is required, can be made as a reflecting session. Now, we know about I have already mentioned these things, the importance of the teaching aid that is used to motivate the students, to clarify the subject matter. That is very important. There are certain topics in certain subjects which are difficult for the students to comprehend. That may be a lot of principles, theories, interrelationships and all. So all these things can be clarified with the help of a single teaching aid. And there are a number of videos which you can show, which will show actually the working of the whole thing, which cannot be done in a classroom situation. And this working will help the students to remain curious in their seats. And they are very much interested in seeing short films or short videos, because we know we are living in a society where we are interested in animation, sounds, effects, color, etc. So when the students again have the same feeling in the classroom, they will acquire a lot of information from these teaching aids. So they get a clarification of the subject matter, and also they can it can facilitate students understanding and discourage act of cramming. What is cramming? I have already told you, that is learning without understanding. Just going on the definition for 4 or 5 times, memorizing it, and if they want to put it in the exam papers, if they lose one word, everything is lost. Why? Because they have learned without understanding. So it is the duty of the teacher to help the student encourage learning by doing, and learning by understanding, and to make the classroom live and active. That is, always we say, that is, if there is one external external material in the classroom other than the teacher and the chalk, that will make the classroom live and active. And also it avoids dullness and provides direct experience, which I have already mentioned in the cone of experience. Okay, now we'll come to the first category, that is the visual aids. We say that it always utilizes only the sense of vision. And we always say that we will believe only if we see. So seeing is believing. That is, it adds the visual aspect to presentation, examples, objects, models, then whiteboards, pictures, flashcards, overhead projectors, and all. Now, actually, what is a chart? Now, I have discouraged the use of chart in my classroom. Why? Because a chart, if it has to be well displayed and informed to the students, it should be well written. That depends upon the handwriting of each and every individual. Sometimes they write in certain way that the students will get confused what is being written on the chart. It is better to not to use a chart in that situation. But if it is to be properly used, it should be properly displayed. And according to Edgar Dale, it is a visible symbolic representation to summarize or comprise. That is very good. That is, if you want to summarize all the things which you have done in a 40 minutes class, you can use a chart. So here comes, this is a visual representation only. But this visual representation has got one important advantage. That is, you are switching your sense of hearing to sense of vision. And when you write on a chart, you will write it in a big way, isn't it? And all the students can view it from any point, any part where they are sitting in the classroom. And it is used for motivating the students and also for summarizing all the activities that have been done in the classroom. And there are a number of charts you can come across, such as picture chart, time chart, table chart, graphic chart, flow chart, tree chart, pie chart. And we have come across, or we have used, as a teacher, we have used some of these charts in the classroom. Depends upon the topic, depends upon the relevance of using these type of charts in your topic, isn't it? That depends upon the way or the different types of chart you use. Okay, there are other things which I come across as, or the visual aids are the flashcards. Usually it is used for in the language classrooms where you want to introduce a new word. And when you introduce a new word, spelling is very important, isn't it? Because if the students are learning a new word, they will be confused of what the spelling is. Because whether it will begin with C or begin with S, everything will pronounce the same. Okay, here you use the flashcards. And when you use a flashcard, you will take a big cardboard and you will paste a chart paper on it, and you will write the word in big letters, capital letters. And why is it called a flashcard? Why? It is shown quickly. It comes as a flash. You know about flash news, it goes on like that, isn't it? So when you want to introduce a new word, you show that word and it will be taken off immediately. The students will be curious to know more, and they are learning the word for the first time in the classroom. So not only in language classes, you can use in science classes, you can use in arts and humanities classes, everywhere. You can use in engineering classes or in a medical class where you want to show a new word. You can use this flashcards, and a teacher will have with him or her a set of flashcards. That is all the new words which he is going to introduce in that class. So that is the relevance of flashcard. It is only a visual aid. And flashcard can be used for giving importance to definitions, to a formula, to letters, to multiplication tables, to prefixes, to words. Okay, and if there is an answer or solution, that also will appear in the form of a card. If you are giving a puzzle in a classroom, and the students think, you give 5 minutes to give the answer, and at last you show the answer in the form of a flashcard. That is the solution to the problem. So these ways you can use the flashcard. Now, what is happening to flip charts? What do you mean by the term flip? Flip means turning on. Okay, and you have got with you a set of pictures or diagrams or illustrations that will be arranged in the form of a calendar or in the form of cards arranged together, clipped together using such type of clips. You have these clips together, and what is happening? You turn over one after the other, and students will be curious to know what is behind the other one, the first one, the second one, and all. And that is to evoke curiosity among students. So that is another visual aid which you can use. Here you can draw diagrams, or you can write words one after the other. You can introduce new words using flip charts. So you have got a flip calendar in your table, isn't it? That is sometimes there will be, this is a doctor's flip card which is kept here. That is for understanding hypertension, that is written there, is there? So he has got a number of list of diseases and its symptoms and all with the on a flashcard, on a flip card, and that will be changed. If you want to know more information, he will get it like that. That can be used in the classroom also. And also flip charts are also there. That also can be used. It is a collection of large pages which are bound together. Instead of one chart, you bring a large number of charts and that will be bound together and you flip one after the other. And when you flip it, what is happening is you can avoid a lot of time, avoid a lot of confusion there. And also the student will get a sequence of information from the beginning to the end in a sequence. So that is the use of flip chart. That also can be used in any teaching learning situation, whatever be the subject, to reduce the anxiety, to reduce the complexity of the situation. Okay, these are the flip cards. You know, these are all available in our market, or we can make it. Some students have made it as an improvised aid, that is using this to complete one unit, one topic or one chapter. They can use a number of flip cards that are being available and that can be made also. Then comes the flannel board. This is the oldest of the board which were used. When I, as a student in the teacher education institution in the early 90s, we use this flannel board. So what is the use of it? That is, you make a frame and you take a piece of flannel. You know the peculiarity of the flannel. That is, it has some rough surface. And what is happening? You want to display some image or some diagram or illustration. What you will do, you cut that piece of diagram, and on the back side of it, you paste a small piece of sandpaper, and the rough part of the sandpaper will be on the outside, and you stick on to the flannel board. This can be used as a display board also. That is, if in the front of your classroom, today's news, you can display that. All the things, that may be pictures or symbols or illustrations. These are all but only visual aids. But how can it be used, made effective in the classroom? Flannel boards can be made very effective in the classroom. That is, if you want to teach them some equations, you have got a number of equations with you that will be shuffled in a box, kept in a box. And students are asked, after the reaction is being taught in the classroom, students will be asked to select suitable equations from the box and paste it on the flannel board. Here there is the pupil participation. And here the students' thinking process will be developed. Their thinking skills will be developed. And that will make the flannel board most effective. And pupil will participate in a very good manner. And this is a view of the flannel board where you can, it's not only used for primary classes, it can be used for even the higher level also, because it is the most attractive. It can be made more colorful. And also we know about the models. Models, we know it may be 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional models are there, or copies of the original thing. You cannot bring certain original things in the classroom. For that you will devise a model. And for that you should know, if it is a working model, it is well and good, rather than a still model, because still model again becomes monotonous. But if it is working, students will find it so much interested, and they become active and lively to see it's working, even though the complexity of the original thing is reduced. The complexity is reduced because you cannot bring the whole complex thing in a classroom. For example, the working of a factory. You cannot bring the factory in the classroom. So what will you do? You will try to devise it. You will devise the functionality of the factory and bring it in the classroom. And there will be some small sound and the machinery running and all. But no, the big complex thing is not brought. But it will serve the purpose, not to the fullest sense, but at least instead of a 2-dimensional model, or instead of a diagram or a picture, model will be more effective. And it should be classified to scale. That is, depending upon the complexity of the original thing, you are bringing the scaled version of it in the classroom. Okay, and you should also know about what is the size of the classroom. That is, according to the size, the proportion of the model should be there. So these are the class what we say about models. It is the replica of the original thing. So you know about models. It can be shown to teach the students the different shapes, sizes. Then for the biology teacher, you can bring the model of the heart. Then for all, whatever be the subject, models have got a very important place in the teaching learning process. Now we'll come to graphs. We are using these graphs. Why? Graphs serve a purpose. That is, you can, what is called, you can actually, instead of explaining a lot of things in the classroom, you can simply bring a graph which will show, which will explain all things in one graph. And you can summarize certain things using a graph. That is, I want to study the increase of population from 1900 onwards till date. So you are going to draw a graph from 1990, 1900 to 1910, 1910 to 1920. Instead of explaining these using figures, what will you do? You just draw a graph. And that shows if it is an increasing, you will show that that will go on in a higher pace, and from that the student will what is happening is will understand whether the population is increasing or decreasing. So that is how that is an effective tool for as a graph. That is, even though it is a visual aid, it has got lot of is there any problem with the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Somebody has annotated. So you can click on the annotation. There is an option annotate.
Okay, so I have been talking about graphs. So graph can be used for summarizing and also for showing the sequence of something which is happening over a period of years. Instead of simple explanation, you can use a graph. That becomes a visual aid. Then comes, these are the different types of graphs that can be used. It may be a pie graph, or it may be a bar, a diagram, etc. that we use according to the situation. Then comes the cartoon. You know, cartoon has got a very important place. Even though you are of any age, we are very much interested in cartoons, isn't it? Why? Because it will convey an idea, and that idea is conveyed in a very humorous way. And also, if we want to teach some important topic in the classroom, and if you want to convey it, you can draw some few characters, and you can show it as a speech done by these two people. Okay, and that will convey the idea to the students in a very effective manner. That depends upon the topic or the situation which you are going to do. That is cartoons, as I've shown you. These are some important attracting the students, attracting the mind or attention of the students, because it is drawn in a very funny manner. And if there are conversations attached to it, that will become more effective. And also the idea can be conveyed using these conversations. So cartoon again becomes a visual aid. And you know about puppets. Some might have seen some puppet shows, and there are a number of ways by we can do it. That is, stick puppets are there, and also characters being arranged in the form of dolls or puppets, and it is being controlled by a person. Let the controlling person be the teacher, and he will behind the scene. There will be shadow puppets that is behind the scene, and it will be conversation. The conversation, the audio will be recorded, and you will show the action, see the actions of the puppets. And as a result, the students will get an idea what is being conveyed using these puppets. That also will catch the attraction of the students. Again, it becomes a visual aid. And that requires a lot of effort from the part of the teacher. And we are coming to slides or transparencies. And you know, in the olden days where we did not have electric connection or electricity and all, what we did was we wrote something on a transparent sheet of paper, and you will lighten one side of the paper with a torch or something, and the projected thing will be seen on the wall. And instead of the screen, there will be a plain wall. And that will get an enlarged image. That is the major advantage of this. An enlarged image will be got. And if they see things something in a bigger manner, that will catch the attraction, isn't it? That is the idea of posters. You know, posters. You will come across a lot of posters when you go from home to school or from school to home, from your workplace to home. You see a number of posters. Why will it catch the your attraction? Why? Because its size is big and it is being done in different colors, sizes, shapes, etc. If one is small, the other one will be very big. So the contrast of the size and the shape which is shown over the poster will catch the attraction of the viewers, is it? Same thing is happening in transparencies. That is, the big image which is created on the wall will create attracting advantage to the viewers. That is the importance of slides or the transparencies. So these are the slide or the transparencies which were once created earlier, and this is kept in our educational technology lab. And we use the slide projectors. Now we are coming to the projected aids. So before coming to projected aids, there are a few things to be told. That is the audio aids, where you get only the audio effect of hearing. And we know we had once used this cassettes, isn't it? Cassettes to hear music, not only music, to hear some good education news about educational importance, or if you want to record something, you will record it in a cassette and you will hear it when you are free. Then came the evolution of CDs. After the cassettes, the next generation was CDs. You can store a lot of information using CDs, isn't it? But all these are audio aids. There is only one-way communication. And there was radio once upon a time, and radio always gave what is called news about broadcasted news of educational relevance on some educational topics were then, and we heard of it through the broadcasting station, but this was also a one-way communication. The sender is sitting in some remote place and the receiver is at some other place, and we will have certain doubts, but we are not able to clarify it on the spot. That was our major disadvantage. But it was a very suitable and important teaching aid in the olden days. Why I am telling you this is because you should have an overview of what happened in the past. Okay, we had a gramophone records. We know if we want to hear some music or some important things, we use this gramophone records. Now it is kept as a showpiece in each and every one of our homes, is there? Because these are things which we cannot see now, or it's not available now. And also the CDs which are used in gramophone records, those things are not available now. But it was used in those days not only to hear music, but also for important information. It may be of educational relevance. And so they used it for that purpose. That was the use of gramophone. Now we are coming to audiovisual aids. We are giving importance to the projected aids because projected aids require an external equipment for projection. Especially it needs a machinery or an equipment, maybe a projector. It needs a screen and it needs some other facilities also. So we are coming to the projected aids. Many projected aids are there, such as opaque projectors, slides, film strips, overhead projectors, LCD panels, etc. Opaque, you know, which does not allow light to pass through it. And you will see only the boundary of that specimen which you have taken. From that, you can understand what is the size and the shape of the object which you have taken. There are slides. I have told you about the slides which will allow light to pass through it. And when it is fixed on a slide projector, that will be developed and enlarged image will be formed over the screen. Then there will be the film strips and the overhead projectors. We will I will explain it one by one. Okay, so these are some of the commonly used projectors in the classrooms. So projectors, the most important thing which a projector should have is a big bulb and big lenses, and the bulb will get heated up fast. And so before starting a projector, you will on the fan inside the projector to cool the equipment, and then you on the bulb, and once the bulb gets heated, the heat will be released out with the help of the fan. And there will be a lens, and the lens is the thing which enlarges, help to enlarge the object to a large image on a screen. So care should be taken to handle carefully the bulbs and the lenses. Okay. Now we have the slide and the film strip projector. So what is happening in film strip projector? You might have seen the film strips, is it? That is in the olden days in the theaters and all, you know, there were big boxes where there were film strips, and these were all shifted to a projector room. And from there, we will see that how the projector is running, we will hear the sound, and that will be projected on a screen. Same thing is happening in a classroom situation. You have thin film strips, and this will be in a sequence to teach a particular topic. And that will be kept on a mounted on a film strip projector, and that will be when it is on, the film strip will work, and one after the other you will see. Sometimes there will be sound, but there are certain film strips where there is, it is not accompanied by sound, only the visual images are there. Then there is a slide projector. What is this type of slide projector? It is mounted on, and instead of thin film strip, you can use a glass slide also. Glass slide, and in our olden days, we asked the students to prepare glass slides, and they prepared 5 centimeter, 7 centimeter glass slides, depending upon the mount on the projector which is available in the institution, and that is kept on the mount, and when light falls on this slides, with the help of the lens, it will be projected on the screen. So what is the major advantage of this is that you get an enlarged image on a screen. As a result, that will catch the attraction of the students. Now we are coming up to what is called a micro projector. What is happening in micro projector? Again, it is a projector which uses a compound microscope. Here you use a compound microscope to project or to get an enlarged image of a microscopic object. You know, various things can be viewed only through microscopes, but that if you want to enlarge it, you use a micro projector to enlarge a small object, that is only which can be viewed through a microscope. For that, you use a compound microscope in this projector, and that enlarged image will be viewed on the screen by the viewers. This is the overhead projector, which is commonly used in institutions. You have got a transparency, which is a A4 size paper, A4 size sized transparency, transparent plastic paper, and on which you write. What is the advantage of using an overhead projector than other projectors is that you get an enlarged image on a screen over the head of the speaker. Who is the speaker in the classroom? He is the teacher, and the teacher can always face the audience. That is, the eye contact will not be lost. And another advantage of using a transparency is that you can develop your diagram or whatever you want to write on the transparency while you are projecting it. Now, if you imagine you are drawing something on a chart, on a chalkboard, on a blackboard, while you are writing, you will explain it to your students, isn't it? And you can turn towards the students and you can explain. Same thing is happening in an overhead projector. While using a transparency, you can not a ready-made images or a diagram is brought in the classroom. Bring an empty transparency in the classroom. While taking the class, you can draw the diagram. And so there will be an interaction with the teacher and the students. And the students will be curious to know what will happen in the next part of the diagram. So this process goes on till the diagram is complete. So that is the advantage of using an overhead projector. Always the teacher is facing the students. And now we are in our sophisticated classrooms, we use LCD panels. What is it used for? It is used to for projecting on the screen. That is, big projections are made on big wide screens or a wide surface. And it can be used for large audience. If you want to conduct a big program, LCD panels are used. But what is the use of an LCD over an LED? LED, you know, there are LED projectors also. The advantage of using LED projectors is it is having long lifespan, and also you can bring lot of better colors are there, and the power consumption is low, and also you can say that it generates less heat. So that is the advantage of using LED projectors. So we can come to the non-projected aids. We have almost covered certain things, but there are certain ideas again. There are display boards such as the blackboard, which is the commonly used, bulletin boards, flannel boards, magnetic boards, where you use magnetic substances, peg boards, where you can hook certain things on the board. that is called pegboards. Then comes the activity aids, where you use demonstrations, where you use experiments in the classroom for the students to have hands-on experience. Learning by doing is there. Then you take the students to the field trips for a field trip. And when you come to the graphic aids, that are examples are charts, the cartoons, the diagrams, the flashcards, the graphs, maps, photographs, pictures, posters, models, and the audio aids, radio, television, and recordings. This is a summary of what I have told you till now. Now we'll come to another type of teaching aids that can be used, that those are printed materials. We cannot forget our textbooks. Even though whatever things come, whatever sophisticated equipment come on our way, whatever online things come on our way, printed materials have got a very important place, such as the textbooks, the workbooks, the magazines, the newspapers, the reference books, and other types of books, such as the supplementary books, the it is encyclopedias. All these things are there. And you always say that if you get a textbook with you, a new textbook, you first smell across the pages of the book. That smell of the textbook will help you to create interest in you to read what is hidden inside each page of the textbook. That is very much a need of the time, because our reading habits are all deteriorating. Students are not reading, teachers are not reading, because we have got information on our fingertips, isn't it? Whatever we need, we will simply search, Googling, and that will give about irrelevant information, and a large number of irrelevant information rather than relevant information. And you should think which is the most relevant. And instead of that, you will get, if you have a textbook, it is so much comfortable, as from the part of the teacher and the student. So printed materials has got its own value even now. And we can see the modern gadgets for the teaching learning process. We always say computers, which were of the, but we know computers are taking away all the, or it has changed the lifestyle of the mankind, isn't it? Because, and the latest developments, whatever is done on computers, even the students, even small children are aware of it. And they are always exploring, and they are always what is called taking advantage of it. And all the tools that can be for the teaching learning process are being made use of, especially during this pandemic situation. So, you know about the microcomputer resources, such as the hardware, the mouse, the printer, the networks, the graphics tablet, the scanner, the voice synthesizer, the joystick, the modem, the trackball, the touch window. All these are, you are coming across all these things in our teaching learning situation. So till now, I have given you an overview of what happened in the past. But now we know that even though it is in the past, it has got certain relevance in the present also. But especially during this situation, all other online gadgets have taken the place of the past. And now we are exploring new avenues, how to use online teaching aids or tools for the teaching learning process. So we are coming to PowerPoint slides and games in modern classrooms, because we know PowerPoints have got a lot of influence in the teaching learning process. And even in PowerPoints, there are a lot of modern sophisticated things, more templates are there. We are not used to the old things which are always, that is, give a color to all the PowerPoint slides and the same color appears everywhere. That is not there. Now, or we can say that it is not now the what is called the need of the hour. You should bring again more modifications in your PowerPoint presentations to make it more attractive. Then only the viewers will be attracted. So how to make the PowerPoint slides more attractive? There are a number of applications for that. So you are going to explore each and every application to make the PowerPoint presentation a very interesting one. Now there is the interactive whiteboard in the classroom. What is that? It is connected to it is just looks like a whiteboard, but when you connect it to the internet, it becomes an interactive whiteboard where you are going to what is called show certain things which are live. If it is live in some other place, it can be shown on the spot. And also you can search the internet and bring the original thing, that is a YouTube video. If you want to show it on the spot, you search it there and bring it there. And so the students will get a lively information in the classroom. So interactive whiteboard, how to use it needs some training from the part of the teacher. And therefore, these are all available in the institutions and given in the institutions. And also there is a projector, and that will be, this will be projected and will be displayed on the screen. So all the viewers, all the people who are sitting in different parts of the classroom can see this screen. That is the use of interactive whiteboard. Then you have the online dictionaries, encyclopedias, picture dictionaries, talking dictionaries. You type a word and you give the audio part of it. It will give out what is the pronunciation of that, what is the meaning of that word, as if some teacher is talking. So you are getting all these things on a small device, on your mobile you are getting, on your laptops you are getting. And you're conducting a number of online tests also. As far as teaching learning process, the evaluation process is concerned, you can conduct a number of online tests using certain applications also. So these are the sophisticated teaching and learning aids that can be used in the classroom. Then you have mobile technology as a teaching aid. This is a very M technology is now of prevalent nowadays, using mobile. You know, a lot of apps are there which can be downloaded in your laptop. Also, same thing, the same service provided in your mobile also. So mobile apps are also there. If the student or a teacher is using only mobiles, he can download the app. For example, if you want to conduct a quiz, you download Kahoot app there and you will just conduct the quiz. And you know how to conduct it because you have done a lot of online courses based on that. So that also becomes a teaching learning aid. You can involve the students inside, that is, the students can become the members of the quiz program and they can also be a part of it and the quiz can be conducted. So how technology has developed, we did not even dream of such a situation will happen, isn't it? But now we are facing the situation and we are in this, right in the middle of this. So mobile technology as a teaching aid. And also we are making the classrooms more smarter. Hope you see what do you feel from this picture. You see, this is a smart table. Instead of projecting it on a screen, smart tables are there and students sit around the table and they will just touch the what they want to know. The table will have certain things on them, on certain information. If the student wants to know certain information, he will touch and the information will come on the table. So what is the advantage of using a smart table rather than a smart board? Why? Because it gives advantages for people who want to have a close view. Because if it is a smart board, you see the smart board, it is just like a whiteboard. And the teacher touches on one place, there will be some information stored there and that will be displayed. That becomes again a teacher oriented method. Teacher is only demonstrating and the pupils are only viewing it. But it is a smart board and it is connected to the internet and it will bring all things that are possible through the internet. So that is the advantage of that smart board. But again, students become passive observers. But when it comes to a smart table, what happens? It can be suitable for all ages. And what is happening is the students can sit around a table as we are sitting around a table. Students can sit there and you can touch on what you want and you get the information. And again, there is the involvement of the students and the students can take a look on it. And let me see if this is working. You can see this is a YouTube on smart can you hear something?
Yes, ma'am.
Smart table brings young learners together to develop and to learn from each other. It helps them develop socially and academically. It's an irresistible learning experience. Kids can't wait to take their turn. The Smart Table 442i is based on Neuro DVI-T technology. It uses a 42-inch high-definition LCD screen. It's wheelchair accessible, and it supports up to 40 simultaneous touches. Some of the other things that we have done is make sure that the surface is spill-proof and scratch-resistant, and for use with a pencil, it's almost impossible for even the most enthusiastic learner to tip it. Smart Table allows students to learn by play. They work together in small groups and develop 21st century learning skills such as communication and leadership. It comes preloaded with applications, including a notebook that teachers can customize to individual learning needs. In addition, teachers have access to over 1,500 activities on the Smart Exchange. Where the Smart Table shines is it's a space where students can work together on their own and they're learning from each other. It's wonderful to see students that normally aren't engaged and they're active, you hear the excitement in their voices, and they're learning and don't even realize it.
So what is happening in a Smart Table is, it is a 42-inch high definition screen is there, okay? And the students can work in small groups. And for what purpose? To develop 21st century skills. That is, you cannot go back to a situation where there is no use of mobiles or tablets or smartphones or etc. So students should be equipped with use of these type of skills. And this Smart Table is preloaded with a lot of applications. And the students will sit around the table and they will work on it. That is the use of the Smart Table. Now we have the laptops, the tablets, the phones, and more. And make it a flipped classroom. What is happening in a flipped classroom? Here, the students will hear some work in the class or do some work in the class, and then they will go and watch the videos of the lectures, maybe outside the class, or if facilities are there inside the class, they can do it also in that way. So that will be used. They will be using their modern gadgets such as tablets or phones or smartphones or laptops, etc. So it becomes a flipped classroom. That is combining the effect of all these. Sometimes they go to the classroom and do some work there, or sometimes outside the class, they will hear to a lecture using their gadgets. So this again has become a type of, the laptops, the tablets, the phones have become a teaching aid and also a learning aid too. Then we have the digital textbooks. We know about the printed text materials. I have come across the printed textbooks. The same thing is being digitized. And this digitized textbook is available in all subjects. And we know we have a lot of IT clubs, and the government of each state has been provided a lot of digital textbooks to the schools. That is, you just, it is in the form of a PDF format. You just click on that link and you will get the textbook. It is being available from standard 1 to whatever course you are doing till that. You are getting the digital textbook in a PDF format. This has also becoming a teaching and a learning aid. Now we'll come to cameras. How cameras are used as teaching aid or a learning aid. We use cameras installed in laptops, tablets, desktops, etc. But in certain advanced classrooms, high quality cameras are there, which is being integrated with the projectors or the smart boards. And that will open up a new experience. And so when it is being connected to the internet, we can get an enlarged or a view of that on the screen. So cameras connected to so the cameras may be focused to some things or materials that will be enlarged on the screen. So that is thing which is being done in advanced classroom as a teaching aid. And we have the audio enhancements, that is wireless microphones are there. And when the instructor's voice will be available to each and every corner of the classroom. And also for multimedia presentation, you know, in multimedia, you use the text, the animation, the voice, the effects, etc. All things are there. And for the multimedia presentation, this audio enhancement system, such as the speakers, the wireless microphones are there, which is being distributed to all portions, all corners of the classroom. So audio enhancement again becomes a teaching aid. And then there is the networked learning, where the teachers are being, teachers will what is called, bring all the students in a network, that is assign works using a network platform, and those work will be seen by the students. And network classrooms always, students can use their own device. For example, we know about Google classrooms, about the LMS and all. What is happening, the teacher once posts his work, the students will view, and there is a network community that again becomes a teaching aid. And if the students want to upload a video, upload a work, that provisions will be there in that platform, and the students can do it. And as the person, as Nasir Ali has introduced me, that is, there was an e-portfolio system. There is an e-portfolio system in our institution, which is now running in a smooth pace. That is, students are asked to upload their works in that system. And the students can upload their lesson plans, their lesson videos, etc. in that system. And there is a deadline there, and the teacher can assign the works, or before the deadline, the students should upload their work, and that will be assessed by the teachers, and the comments will be given by the teachers. So there is a networking community, a group of students and the teacher. So that is what is called networked learning. And there is a lot of other platforms by which you can network your students too. And you know about the Kindle e-reader. That is, instead of carrying a book with you, you will have with you a small device. And Amazon Kindle is the most popular one. And you have the storybooks or textbooks or references or learning materials, everything in your Kindle e-reader. And that will be carried out wherever you can go. And if you are interested in reading over it, you can use this as a learning aid too. It can be used as a teaching aid also by the teacher. And you have got Apple Watches. It's not just to see the time, but the Apple Watches has got a lot of other, it can be used as a gadget or a teaching aid in the classroom. How? It can bring about a lot of notifications or emails. You can set the time, and you can show some audios, you can make presentations, you can show some videos, etc. in the classroom using this Apple Watch, if it is connected to a projector. So everything you have in your fingertips. Also, there is another one, iPad Air, which is again used by the teachers because it is so flexible. It is so flexible. The mobility is the most important phenomena of an iPad. That is, you can carry it everywhere, and you can, and all these iPads are given to school students in advanced countries, and the students have with them the tablets and the iPads, and they know the typing skills also. Once the teacher dictate the notes, they will simply type, which we see with that is, it's so an awesome work the students do there. Why? Because they have been coming up with these gadgets, or they have been working with these gadgets from the small days itself, school days itself. So that is why this has become a very important equipment along with their textbooks in the school classrooms. So this has become a teaching learning aid, the iPad Air, because of its mobility. That is the most important thing. And also the mini wireless keyboard. That is, it is not connected to any device. It has some, it is again the mobility. All the physical properties of an ordinary keyboard is available in this wireless keyboard. And it can be used anywhere. And this teacher, along with this keyboard, can move in any part of the classroom freely because it is being connected. Okay, and without any wires. And it is only a touch keyboard. And that is again the most sophisticated teaching aid which can be used in the classroom. And some tech tools that can be used by the teachers are the Classcraft, just to mention a few. Classcraft, Adobe Spark Video, Seesaw, the Google Classroom and YouTube, the Nearpod, the Venngage, the KidBlog, the Canva. These are all some teachers that some tools that can be used by the teachers as a teaching aid. What is the thing which I want to highlight here is that sometimes you will hear a class on Classcraft or a Google Classroom. Just you hear it and you leave it. and you will have some notes with you. The resource person might have told you, and that is kept there, and that is stored in a safe place. No, you should use it. You should explore it. As any other skill, you always say that swimming is an art, or driving is an art, or drawing is an art, or music is an art, dancing is an art. But if you know it well and good, if you keep it somewhere safe, nothing will happen. But if you practice it daily, more and more things will come up, or more and more modifications can be made, isn't it? Same thing is happening in the all digital devices as well as digital tools. Only if you work on it, only if you to explore the possibilities, more and more, the day by day, the possibilities are increasing, and you should explore what are the possibilities, and not only explore the possibilities, but also bring these possibilities in your classroom. Make the classroom more lively, and make the students also explore these things, make them a part of these digital tech or we can tools. And also for that, the teacher has to first undergo all these, undertake the effort of bringing all these things here, because we are digital natives now. And also we have got a lot of challenges, and we are doubtful whether this will work or not. That is our main problem. So when you get time, you explore on it, and you explore the possibilities, not keep it aside, and bring it in a classroom situation. That is what each and every teacher should have, and should have that mentality, that type of mindset, that type of working culture, which is the need of the hour, because we cannot go back to the olden days. But we have got a base, and we are adding more and more on this. More and more modifications are there, but we should not forget our past. But we cannot go to the past now. We can sometimes use all the items which we used in the past now also, but in a more sophisticated way. That is the most thing a creative teacher should have, and a creative student also should have all these, explore all these possibilities and become a lifelong learner. And before concluding, let me say that even we talk about all these things, we always remember our school days or our classrooms, where a teacher always standing in front of the chalkboard with the chalk on the hand, drawing diagrams and pictures, and students busily copying this in their notebooks. But all these things have changed. But what a teacher, as a teacher, what you can do is, you can bring the traditional way of teaching along with your modern gadgets, and still occupy a dominant position in the classroom, teacher's dominant position. Along with teaching, you can imbibe certain values. Once there was a debate whether teachers will take off, the modern gadgets will take off the position of a teacher, what will happen to the students? Who will impart or imbibe values in them? Because there are no value education classes nowadays. All the topics of different subjects will have got some values inside them, imbibe them. And it is the teacher who gives these values to the students apart from the academic classes. So who will do that if the modern gadgets will take away the place of the teacher? That was a very big anxiety in the minds of the teachers, the parents, the society, etc. But we know still now teachers have got a dominant place. Even though we are using modern technologies, you can blend traditional teaching methods along with the modern gadgets and imbibe values in the students. That is very much needed in this what is called no value society now. And the Guru Shishya Parampara, it is very important. That should be maintained throughout, whatever be the pandemic situation, whatever be the situation which we are facing in future too. So have a great day and have a good future ahead, all teachers and all students and all viewers and all who have been viewing and listening to me. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very informative. Now it's open for discussion. If any queries are there, participants may unmute your microphone, or you can also use the chat box, please.
Thanks, ma'am.
Any questions? Or if you are having something to add with what ma'am said, no, ma'am discussed, you can,
Yes, that will be more preferable. Yes.
yeah.
Because you may have something you are viewing in a different way. Your different ideas will be there. Okay.
Yeah. We are getting responses from participants, and from that we understand that whatever we discussed, ma'am discussed from right from the beginning to the end, everything was very informative. And she has also discussed the past of the teaching aids, and from then whatever the changes happened to the teaching aids, then she has reached at the current teaching aids which we use today. And I hope things were clear and it would be informative. And if somebody couldn't follow it fully due to network issues and all, the recorded video will be made available on our LMS, as you know. And I hope ma'am will be sharing the PPT as well. And Dr. Mariama Matthew, personally, you know, it's like we are having a personal attachment. She taught me in my B.Ed days, and from then onwards we are in connection, having maintaining that very academic relationship with ma'am, and she is my real mentor too. And ma'am, we are very much happy to have you here for presenting on a very relevant topic today, and I hope we will be collaborating in the future also. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
And dear participants, we will have the next session on NEP. Actually, the topic is made mandatory by the sponsors of this program. So that pedagogical transformations through NEP, that is the title for the next session, will be discussed by Dr. Faisal KP. So you please join by 2:30. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you all.